Hi everyone, yes, videos back to back. I know, I'm catching up. Book review on Runaways, Pride and Joy. This collects issues 1 to 6 of the original Runaways run. Well, that's hard to say. Runaways was created by a chap called Brian K. Vaughan, I'm just checking, and is probably quite unusual in the Marvel superhero graphic novel world, because in here, the kids find out their parents are actually bad guys. And unlike an awful lot of superhero characters like Batman and Spider-Man, who have this utmost reverence, almost worshipfulness of their adult guardian or role model, in Runaways, these kids can't stand their parents. Their parents aren't good role models. The teenagers are rebelling against them. They don't want anything to do with them, obviously because they're supervillains, but it breaks the norm for normal superhero children-parent relationships. And in that in itself is quite brave and quite refreshing, to be honest. The Runaways consist of 6 teenagers: Alex, Gertrude, Carolina, Molly, Chase, and Nico. It's always one I forget. No offense. It's one of the most diverse groups of characters that we see in a superhero comic, particularly for this time period. When was this done? This was released originally early 2000s, 2003. So extremely diverse, pretty much ahead of its time. Also dealing with growing up and teenage issues. Molly is a preteen. She's about to start puberty, so all that conversation keeps cropping up in these first issues. Much to everybody's horror, nobody wants to talk about it, which kind of reflects our real life society, doesn't it? This was a reread for me, but the reason I picked it up is because on Amazon Prime they had Marvel's Runaway, which I thought fantastic because I wanted to see this show when I heard it was being done. So I sat down and watched episode 1 and was aware quite hugely of the changes from the comic. So I went back and read this just to make sure that I got my head right, that I knew that what I thought was different was actually different. And I've just seen episode 2, which kind of retells episode 1, but from the parents' point of view, so you get to learn more about the parents, which in this collection, I know a little about the parents, but not a huge amount, because obviously our focus is the Runaways. But what was really nice is the way that the TV show manages to balances both sides, so you kind of understand where everybody's coming from. You might not agree with them. Certainly it doesn't excuse anybody's behaviour, but it does make them a bit more rounded rather than my parents are evil. The obvious biggest difference between the TV series and the original run is they've upped the age of Molly. Molly in here is, 11? Whereas in the TV show, she's definitely, I'd say, more 13, 14. Obviously, I think that's to make life easier for filming and for story plotting. It's a bit of a shock. It takes some getting used to. But actually it works and it makes sense. And some of the things that are introduced in the TV show, they're done in a different order to the comics. Which again, TV is a different medium of telling a story, so it takes different ways of telling the story. You can't just take a comic strip and put it onto screen. It doesn't always work straightforwardly like that. Here is an example of one of the cliffhanger endings for the comics. Obviously, you know, this is an arc of 6 issues, so there are cliffhanger endings throughout. There are introduction points to all the main aspects of the Runaways that, as you read further on the series, make more sense. The artwork is pretty awesome. Everyone's got their signature look. Nico's the goth, Chase is the jock, Gertrude is the social justice warrior trying to rebel, Molly's the kid with all the pop culture references. So they've all got their own natural look, and it's carried across through each issue, which is great because it makes identifying your characters so much easier. When they change halfway through a book, it's so hard to keep track. What I enjoy most about this collection is it's fun. Yes, their parents are supervillains. Yes, these kids are messed up. Yes, they've got issues. But it is at heart a fun series. There's so many pop culture references from that time period that obviously have been changed for the TV show, but it's quite amusing to sit there and reading them and go, oh yeah, I remember that, it's kind of cool. The early 2000s, Pokemon was very big again. There's a lot of Pokemon references in here, thank you Molly. The story nips along at a good pace. We know exactly what's going on, why is it going on, why people are doing what they're doing. There's no sort of, oh, well, we need to go and do this for this plot point, so we better go and do that. There's none of that. Things naturally flow throughout the issues. This has been very well structured as a story. Brian obviously knows where he's going, where he wants to end up by the end of issue 6. And it's very, very cool. You can see that there's that thought process has gone through. So the story holds together. The characters all get their growth scenes. The first issue, there's a lot of chop and changing, but then there's 6 main characters and parents to introduce in this world. So if you have a problem with multiple points of view, you might have an issue. But I think it's worth hanging in there. These characters are really likeable. They're really honestly portrayed. Actually, I could have known several of these kids growing up at school. So to me, they feel like proper people. Does that make sense? Unfortunately for me, I don't have the next 2 collections in the Runaways series, or actually possibly 3. My next issue is number 25, which is Joss Whedon collection, where they end up going back in time and all that goes on. So that's mildly frustrating for me, but I would say if you've missed out on the original run, go and pick up Rainbow Rowell's series, which started year before last, I think. Which picks up from the end of the original run, which also I haven't actually finished reading either because I didn't get my hands on them all. So there are some spoilers in that follow-on run, but it's just as enjoyable. The characters are just as relatable, and then because it's set at a slightly later point in their lives, they have naturally grown up. We see these teenagers grow into adults, and Rainbow Rowell's series carries that on, which is very enjoyable and quite novel actually. It's rare, I think, for a superhero character to actually have a growth, as it were. Marvel seems to be very good at rebooting everything, so you don't necessarily get to see your characters grow up. The Runaways, they grow up. I have to say my favourite character in here, I love Nico. I just like her assuredness, but also her vulnerability that comes through. She's got a great style. It's very instant. That's Nico. You know exactly which character you're looking at. And she's quite sassy as well. Molly is great fun, obviously being the kid of the group. All her pop culture references make her instantly likeable, particularly if you remember them all. Anyways, I will do my utmost best to try and get the complete series so I can sit and read the whole lot, because I really do enjoy these characters and I can't believe I haven't got any more of these. It also seems to be that the individual collections have stopped being published, so I'm going to probably have to go and buy the omnibus editions, which means I'll end up with 2 lots of Pride and Joy. Never mind. Have you read Runaways? Who's your favourite character and why, please? But no spoilers, because obviously I haven't read everything. But I'm aware of most things that have gone on because of the sequel series. Yeah, complicated. Have you been watching the TV show as well? Do you like what they've done? Do you understand their changes? Or are you just like, no, that's completely wrong, why did you ruin it kind of view? Let me know down below. Keep it polite though, please. There is a small booktuber in the description box down below that I'd like you to go and check out and say hi. Also down there are my social media links and my book blog, where there is a fuller, less rambling review of Runaways on there. Please go and read that if you would like me to make more sense occasionally. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy reading. Bye.